usually subcommittee meetings.
Okay, we're back in session. The hearing regarding the 2008 supplemental budget appropriation extension. Do you have anybody here? You're going to speak.
Mr. Chair, if it pleases the commission, before we open it for public comment, I'd like to present a little bit about what are the actions before the board so the public would have a deeper understanding to be able to comment. A couple of weeks ago, we were before you with some third quarter supplemental appropriations. And you have scheduled, I believe, a hearing coming up on December 15th for fourth quarter supplemental budget appropriations. These are, I guess, third and a half quarter, somewhere between third quarter and fourth. These are some items that really couldn't wait until the December 15th fourth quarter. There are two of them. One is submitted from JeffCom, which is our emergency 911 service, and the other is from Superior Court. Donna Hamlin, who's the director of JeffCom, is here today, and she can explain a little bit of background of her appropriations. I'll note that those are within the JeffCom budget, which is its own fund, funded through, excuse me, a variety of means, through service fees for each call that responded to by the sheriffs or the police department with Port Townsend or the fire districts, as well as a number of the emergency E911 phone charges that all of us pay with our phone bills, and a number of other sources. So with that, I'll pass it on to Donna.
Thank you. We found ourselves in a position of having, actually, it's a cash flow problem for JeffCom at the end of the year. And the money that JeffCom uses does not come from the general fund, it comes from our special funds. And all we're asking is that we be allowed to take some of the money from our unallocated funds and apply it to the budget to finish up the budget this year so we can meet salaries and other necessary expenses. What we found for this year is with the turnover in dispatch, we've had real difficulty retaining our trainees because our job is extremely technical and it's not a job that anyone can do. So we've had quite a turnover in trainees. All of those trainees have had to have some degree of training or other that was not in last year's budget for this year. And in order to keep two dispatchers on at all times 24/7, we've expanded out and we've hired the Sheriff's Office and Port Townsend PD deputies. And because state law requires that we pay the Sheriff's Office at their usual overtime rate because they are already county employees, we extended that also to the police department so there would be no disparity between what their wages were when they're sitting at our consoles doing the same job. And pretty much they do just basic telephone answering, and they're the second body in the room if something goes sideways and the dispatchers need assistance. But because we're paying them at their law enforcement overtime rate, it put another big chunk into our budget that we had not originally been able to budget for. We also proceeded with some microdata data management services that we sort of didn't anticipate happening this early in the year, but because of trying to keep ahead of the weather, right now we have the deciduous trees that are bare, so we can get out and get some mapping coordinates with latitude and longitude. We had to go ahead with mapping data services, which put a chunk of money into our budget that we had not budgeted for last year, although it is in our unallocated funds. We also received our general fund cost allocation from the county this year, which was almost $22,000 higher than we had anticipated. And I begrudge nobody at the county their portion of their job. We had not anticipated that much extra. And the E911 call taker training, that's my two dispatchers that I had mentioned earlier that have had to be through Telecom 1 and some of the other classes in order to even proceed with training, who are no longer with us. And then I have an IT person on my staff necessary for our computer equipment that's very specialized in the dispatch center. And we've hired a second person to help work with the mapping part that JeffCom is taking on. And the two of them couldn't occupy 4-foot by 6-foot office room. which is actually my fourth call taker position, so we purchased a small, travel trailer and set it up as an outside office for them to use, and that was also an unanticipated expense. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to use our unallocated funds, the money that would be left over at the end of 2008 rolling into the 2009 budget, plus some money that was windfall money from the state 911 grants called year-end supplement funds. And between the two of those, we can meet the cash shortfall that we have for this year. And then after the first of the year, the state 911 grants will help backfill some of what we're spending now. So our bank is not yet empty, and more funds will be put back in after the first of the year.
Okay, so
Let's see, one question I had on the GIS work, we've got mapping here with the assessor and also community development, public works, and WSU, I think also does some. Is there a possibility of coordinating these?
I would love to. Yeah, I would love to, and that's a point in time that we're not at yet. I'm trying to set up a meeting with Public Works to find out if there's anything they're doing that we could possibly take over on our part, and we need their personnel to do something that's less mundane. And building our data layers and getting the 911 mapping up to where it critically needs to be for the maps and dispatch.
Seems like there might be some economies of scale, or at least space.
At
which
least
is also-
space, yes.
Okay, appreciate that.